Good evening and welcome. This is a public hearing of the Zoning Board of Appeals of the City of Evanston. The zoning ordinance directs this body to hear applications for major variations, special uses, and appeals from decisions of the zoning administrator. Depending on the type of matter, this board will either make a final determination or send its recommendation to City Council. Would you please call the roll?
Matt Rogers.
Present.
Scott Gingold.
Present.
Beth McLennan. Mary Beth Burns.
Present.
Myrna Arabella. Violetta Cullen.
Present.
Andrew Gallimore.
With 4 members present, we do have a quorum. Also present tonight are zoning planner Melissa Klotz, planning and zoning administrator Lori Pearson, and assistant city attorney Mario Tretto. This is a formal meeting and there are rules that govern our proceedings. Most importantly, only one person speaks at a time to accurately record the proceedings. Anyone who wishes to address the board regarding any matter on the agenda will have the opportunity to do so at the appropriate time. Our procedure is to hear from staff on the documents on file and then receive testimony and other evidence from the applicant or appellant. Next, persons who wish to make a statement regarding the matter may do so at that time. Any person with a legal interest in property located within 500 feet of the subject property may present evidence, reasonably question witnesses, or seek a continuance of the hearing. When all supporting and opposing testimony and statements have been heard, the applicant or appellant will be given the opportunity for rebuttal or a closing statement. Then the board will close the record and begin deliberations. All testimony will be under oath. Although we do not apply the strict rules of evidence, please limit your testimony or statement to your personal knowledge. When you address the board, please state your name and address and be sure to sign in on the provided sheet. We are audio and video recorded. Please make sure that you are at a microphone when asking questions or making statements so that you can be properly recorded. All proceedings are subject to broadcast at a later date. Any matter not concluded at tonight's hearing will be continued to our next regularly scheduled meeting. We do have 3 items on the agenda tonight. We actually have 4 items on the agenda, but one of them has been withdrawn, 2149 Sherman Avenue. Is the applicant for 812 Church Street present?
Present.
1814 Central?
Present.
And 600 Davis. With that, we will begin the meeting with the approval of our meeting minutes from September 23rd. Has everybody who attended that meeting had an opportunity to look through them, and are there any edits? If there are none, is there a motion to approve the minutes?
I make a motion to approve the minutes of the meeting on Tuesday, September 23rd.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? I will note that members not voting were not present at that meeting. With that, we will begin our agenda for this evening with the matter at 812 Church Street. If that would please be read into the record.
Christopher Lawton, architect, applies for a special use permit for a Type 2 restaurant, 800 Degrees Neapolitan Pizzeria at 812 Church Street. 812 Church Street is located in the D3 Downtown Core Development District, which requires a special use permit for a Type 2 restaurant to operate, zoning code section 61143. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case. Documents included as part of the record include special use application submitted August 26, 2014, standards form, zoning analysis, plat of survey, site plan, description of business, image of property, aerial view of property, zoning map of property, and Spark meeting minutes of September 17, 2014.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask that anyone who will be speaking to us or may speak to us in the matter of 812 be sworn, raising their right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings?
I do.
Thank you. If you'd please come up to the microphone and state your name and address.
My name is Christopher Lawton. I am the architect for 800 Degrees Pizza.
Travis McDonald, I represent 800 Degrees Pizza.
Thank you. And if you would please tell us about your proposed project.
As Melissa just stated, I'm the architect, Christopher Lawton, and we are submitting for a special use application for a Type 2 restaurant. And what we wanted to start with was, even though we've been defined as a Type 2 restaurant, we're not a typical fast food restaurant. The majority of our patrons will be seated while dining, and we'll be using ceramic dishes. We're more of a type 1.5, if there was one. And the founder of this restaurant refers to it as fast fine dining, which I thought was a good sentiment. So with that, I'm going to hand it over to Travis McDonald of Captive Development, and he'll talk about the operations and further explain the concept.
Hi, thank you for your time. I know some of you already heard this spiel, so I apologize for hearing it again. And I'm not sure what everybody wants to hear about this concept or what they don't want to hear, but I'll start with a pretty generic background of the company and what it does. So Anthony Caron is a chef that founded the company. He trained under Michael Mina for 9 years. Michael Mina is probably one of the top 2-3 chefs in the country. High-end 5-star restaurants nationwide. And I guess one day Anthony was eating at a pizza restaurant. He said, why am I limited to having, if I'm going to have high-end pizza, why do I have to go to Sicily to get it? And if I'm going to build my own pizza, why is it not a good quality pizza? Hence, he produced 800 Degrees Pizzeria. Started in Westwood, California. The concept has done very well in California. We just opened up in Pasadena, which I think is actually a similar market to Evanston. Last time I gave this spiel, I compared Evanston to Westwood, California, and I went back and looked at it, and I said, you know, it is kind of similar because Westwood has UCLA, Evanston has Northwestern, there's the college, there is a business climate here, but when we were at the opening in Pasadena a few weeks ago, I said, actually, that's a better comp because it's a smaller community, more tight-knit, and I think it's a pretty good comp set. The opening in Pasadena was in a very historic building. There was a lot of pushback on what do you guys do, how do you prepare this pizza? And so to speak to that a little bit, I think it's worth noting how this pizza is made. So you go into this restaurant, and I want to give you this spiel because I've had to do this in New York and a couple of other places, and people are always curious how this works. You go into the restaurant, and you start with first off, it's a beautifully built restaurant. We spend a lot of money on these restaurants. It looks nothing like and I hate to drop names, but we're not a Chipotle or one of the lower end build your own pizza concepts. You start at the beginning of a line of a beautiful bar with all natural, all organic ingredients, and you basically start, you either pick one of the pizzas that we've chosen for you, or you build your own. And as you go down the line, you put this beautiful Neapolitan, New York, it's Sicilian pizza, so it's not your typical Chicago pizza, which is a little scary in Chicago, right? So it's thin. You build your own pizza, and you get to the end. About halfway down the line, you get a glass of wine or a beer. We are beer and wine, not full liquor, is what we're going after. And by the time you get to the end and you hand the person your credit card, they put your pizza in an oven. An oven that's ordered from Italy. There'll probably be 3 of them in this restaurant. And the pizza goes in the oven. By the time you pay, your pizza's ready to go, and you go off to your table. Whereas at Chipotle or one of these other type 1 type restaurants, you're either on your way out the door or you're eating as fast as you can to get back to your office. With this, you can eat as fast as you can to get back to your office, but you can also sit there and have what I think is closer to an Eataly, if you've been downtown to Eataly, full service restaurant type experience. It's very comparable to pizza restaurants that I eat at in New York City. Talk about the price a little bit. Whereas some of the lower end, more fast casual type 2 type pizza restaurants, they're more in a $6, $7 pizza range or price range, and whereas Eataly's more in the $22, $23 range. This carries an average check of $13 to $14, but we actually believe that the quality is more in line with the $23 or $24 check. Once you sit down, again, you really are more in a full service restaurant environment. Beautiful furniture, high-end finishes. It's really quite an incredible experience. If you want to talk a little bit about the actual bones of the operation, there'll be 30 to 40 employees. Like I said, full beer and wine, not full liquor. Parking came up last time. We expect that most of our employees will be commuters. with the exception of maybe a manager and a kitchen chef. And we do, our lease does not have parking included, so if need be, we'll lease off-site parking. We're prepared to do that. I think that's really about it.
Can you talk a little bit about, I can't remember what percentage of the patrons you suggested would be dine-in, but can you talk a little bit about the plans for those that aren't dining in? Like what's the to-go options and?
Well, so there's no delivery, first off. So we don't deliver pizza. If you're gonna get a pizza to go, you're gonna come in and you're gonna go through the line just like the next guy. And the difference is, in fact, in Westwood, California, we actually had the opportunity, and I won't get into the bones of the real estate, but we had an opportunity to add in a second retail component to service the to-go. And we quickly found that it didn't actually work because people, even if they were taking their pizza to go, they still wanted to stand in line and go through the process. So it's really quite an experience. So if you're going to go here, what you're going to do is you're going to go through the line just like anybody else. You're going to get to the end, your pizza's going to get cooked, it's going to go in a box, and instead of going up to your table, you're going to walk out the door with your box. I don't know if that's what you want to hear, but that's how it's going to happen. There's no delivery. It's not going to be a separate line. It's not. You're still going through the process.
And can you just speak quickly about what kind of deliveries are going to be made to you and how and when those will take place?
So, and I may need Chris's help here a little bit. I don't think we've worked out all of the logistics of delivery, but our deliveries, that question came up last time. So our deliveries are every other day, sometimes daily, quite frequently, so we'll do them in the morning. We do have in this location, we do have an alleyway that we can utilize. Is that on the board?
Did I bring that to you? I added this from last time. Sure.
So anything that is being shared with us,
This will be submitted.
okay, that's what I was going to say, is we have to keep, so,
This is just showing better, there's an existing alleyway that comes in, this is the parking lot, and this will be loading garbage section.
so I'm,
So is there a loading dock in that in the alleyway or
No, it's
just some kind of rear entrance?
It's a rear entry,
It's basically-
a paved area. I don't know if.
could I get you, Mr. Love, to have a microphone? Do I have a microphone, a miniature microphone up here? Or because we're doing this not live, do I not get one? Okay, here, actually speak into my microphone.
Okay.
Sorry about that. Okay, so there's not, I don't believe there's actually your typical loading zone area, but there's a paved area that has some mechanical things outside. There's certainly enough space for a truck to go back there. I think it was intended as a loading area, but it's not built quite like a loading area should be.
You enter a service corridor that services the overall development project. It functions perfectly as a loading zone for us.
One more question from me for now. Can you just please specify what are the hours of operation that you're planning on?
Listen, we would, obviously, I went through this last time. We would like the maximum, we want to open up at 11 o'clock in the morning. We would love the opportunity to serve pizza till 2 a.m. I heard some resistance on that last time. I'm not willing to sign away any hours yet, but we're very amenable to working with you to a reasonable. I think that what came up last time was you wanted us to be in line with the rest of the businesses in the area. We're obviously not trying to push the boundaries on that at all. What you should know though, and I said this last time as well, we're not a bar crowd, we're not debaucherous. We just do a very good business of selling pizzas late in our locations that are close to colleges. So we'll push for what you'll give us, but we're reasonable. We're not gonna get in an argument about it. We'll give where it makes sense.
Thanks.
The Spark Committee recommended hours of operation to go until midnight during the week and 1 a.m. on weekends.
And what I would add to that is that's typically what we do, but since we are a recommending body, City Council has the purview of taking our recommendation with those hours or extending those hours, but that's their decision. We typically stick to our guidelines. So when we discuss it tonight, we will be using those hours, but know that those are not set in stone until city council makes their decision.
I totally understand, and I think your hours are very cool. We're not far off on desires and requirements.
So just know that if we make a recommendation for approval tonight, we will condition those hours, but that does not mean that those are the hours that are set in stone until council makes their final decision.
We understand.
The question had come up during the last meeting you attended about venting. Has that been resolved, or is that still an open question?
When we first started looking at the space, we had a mechanical engineer come through with me, as well as looking at the overall systems. We identified an area where we could run a chase wall on a column up through the existing LA Fitness space and through the roof. And that's how we would have to do it.
I think I can add a little bit to that. Through the leasing process, we got a preliminary approval from LA Fitness to actually see that through. So it's not a pipe dream of we hope that LA Fitness is going to let us do that. But we just haven't drawn it and shown it to them yet. In all honesty, I don't have approval to go spend a bunch of money to finish these drawings off until I have a little bit more approval from you guys.
Right.
And I'll speak loudly. On the plan that was originally submitted and on this new one, I noted where we're proposing to put that. And it's roughly a 2x4 chase that we'll be building.
You know, listen, without that, we can't operate a restaurant, so it's...
Right. No, I just noticed that it had been kind of a negotiation, and I didn't know if it had been resolved yet or not.
It's not 100%, but we're 100% confident that we'll get there.
Okay. Are there additional questions for either Mr. McDonald or Mr. Lawton? Only one question. Is this the first 800 degrees that's going to be in the Chicagoland area?
It is.
Okay. And what is the number of stores that you have nationally?
Okay, so the first one was in Westwood, California, opened a couple of years. More recently, we've opened up in Santa Monica, California. We have an operation at Los Angeles International Terminal, which the only people that get to see that are people that are actually flying out of the States through the international terminal, so you can't go there and eat if you're just hanging out in Los Angeles. We have 2 operations in Vegas, and as I mentioned, Pasadena just opened up. There's not an aggressive expansion plan. There's a thought-out, careful expansion plan, obviously with major metropolitan areas in mind, like such as Chicago, Los Angeles, and New York.
All right, thank you. Well, is there anybody else who wished to speak to us on this matter? Not seeing anyone. Is there anything you'd like to say in summation before we begin our deliberation?
We're excited about the marketplace. That's it.
Thank you. With that, we will go ahead and close the record and begin our deliberation. Based on general comments, it seems that there doesn't seem to be anything out of the ordinary here from a typical special use that we would get. If anything, this one will probably have less impact due to the fact that only a small percentage of it will be takeout as opposed to a more traditional type 2 restaurant, which would have a larger percentage of takeout, probably be about reverse of what it is here. You can go ahead and have a seat. You don't have to.
Thank you so much.
Any matter that comes before us, we do have to find a set of standards to recommend approval to City Council in this particular case. There are 9 standards for special uses. The first one is that it is a special use specifically listed in the zoning ordinance, and we do find that a type 2 restaurant is an approved special use in the D3 Downtown Core Development District, so that standard has been met. Number 2, it is in keeping with the purposes and policies of the adopted comprehensive general plan and the zoning ordinance as amended from time to time. Quite often this is the type of establishment that we would find in our downtown core. We obviously like to have a concentration of retail, restaurant, things to draw people into the downtown, as well as to service people who are living in residences in the downtown. So I believe that this standard has been met. Number 3, it will not cause a negative cumulative effect when its effect is considered in conjunction with the cumulative effect of various special uses of all types in the immediate neighborhood. As I mentioned, this being the D3 downtown core district, we would expect to see a slightly larger concentration of special uses, again, of this type of a nature. So I believe that standard number 3 has been met. Number 4, it does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. Although we're moving from a retail chain that used to be located in this space to a restaurant, I do not believe that there is anything that is going to create an additional problem in the neighborhood and would affect anybody's property values in any negative way. So I believe that standard has been met. Number 5, it can be adequately served by the public facilities and services. The downtown core has the greatest infrastructure that we can provide in the city of Evanston, and so I believe that that standard has been met. Number 6, it does not cause undue traffic congestion. We didn't really speak to this, but again, with the downtown being serviced by buses, trains, as well as people traveling on foot and by car, we would expect to see a small impact on traffic, but probably not noticeable, so that standard has been met. Number 7, it preserves significant historical and architectural resources. This particular building, to my knowledge, has no significant history behind it or any architectural significance. So I believe that standard has been met. Number 8, it preserves significant natural and environmental features. It doesn't appear that we will be in any way changing the exterior of the building, increasing its footprint, or in any way having a greater impact upon the environment in this area. So I believe that standard has been met. And number 9, it complies with all the other applicable regulations of the district in which it is located and other applicable ordinances, except to the extent that such regulations have been modified through plan development or grant of a variation. As I often mention with restaurants, there's a whole set of codes that are outside of this board. This particular restaurant is looking to obtain a liquor license, which is through a different process, but I have no reason to believe that anything that they do would not be in compliance with any of those regulations, and so I believe that this standard has been met. Therefore, I find that all 9 standards have been met. Is everyone in agreement?
Yep.
With that, I will look for a recommendation to approve this development to be forwarded to City Council, keeping in mind the things that we typically do in a Type 2 restaurant.
I will make such a motion. In the matter ZBA 14 ZMJV-0113 regarding the property at 812 Church Street, I move that we recommend that City Council approve the special use requested with the following conditions. That the hours of operation be limited from
We usually go to 6 a.m.
from 6 a.m. until midnight on weekdays and until from 6 a.m. until 1 a.m. on weekends,
On Saturdays.
on Saturdays,
Friday, Saturday.
Friday and Saturday. So you can fix that, Melissa, right? That employees be required to utilize off-street parking, and to the extent that it's not readily available, that as you suggested you are amenable to, you find leased parking off the street. That the company comply with the city's garbage and litter collection plans, and that the property otherwise be developed and run in compliance with the testimony and evidence presented.
It's been moved. Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none, those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? With 4 votes in favor, you will receive a positive recommendation to City Council, and Melissa will work with you to let you know when you will be appearing before council.
Thank you.
Thank you. We have the second matter on our agenda this evening, which is 1814 Central Street. If you could please read that one into the record.
Beth Welch, business owner, applies for a special use permit for a type 2 restaurant, Beth's Little Bake Shop, at 1814 Central Street. 1814 Central Street is located in the B1A Business District and the OCSC Central Street Overlay District, which requires a special use permit for a type 2 restaurant to operate. Zoning code section 6953. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case. Documents included as part of the record include special use application submitted September 24th, 2014, standards form, zoning analysis, plat of survey dated October 25th, 2012, site plans, description of business, image of property, aerial view of property, zoning map of property, and Spark meeting minutes of September 24th, 2014.
Thank you. At this time, I would ask that anybody who may be speaking to us in the matter of 1814 Central Street, please be sworn by raising the right hand. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings? Thank you. If you would please come up to the microphone and state your name and address for the record.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Beth Welch, and I'm the owner and head pastry chef of the proposed business, Beth's Little Bake Shop, at 1814 Central Street.
Thank you. If you would please tell us about your plans.
Okay. Just a little bit about me to start. I am an Evanston resident and a native, and I attended the Culinary Institute of America, and I have my bachelor's degree in hotel and restaurant management. I have worked all over the Chicagoland area as a pastry chef at such places as the Four Seasons and at the Everest Room, and I have assisted two similar bakery operations to open, one in Lake Forest, one in Chicago. So my proposal for 1814 Central Street is a European-inspired bake shop. There is a need for a bake shop of this caliber on the east side of Green Bay Road on East Central Street. My shop will serve European-style breakfast pastries and desserts, as well as some American favorites. We'll have such items as croissants, brioche, cinnamon rolls, tarts, pies, cupcakes, layer cakes, and breads, just to name a few. All items will be baked on the premises. We will also have a non-alcoholic bottled beverage service and coffee from Intelligentsia. This bake shop will be producing wholesale orders as well for local restaurants. We are proposing the shop to be open Monday through Friday, 6 a.m. to 6 p.m., and on Saturdays, 7 a.m. to 5 p.m. At this time, we are planning on being closed on Sundays. We may choose to open on Sundays if there is a demand for it. As far as seating inside the shop, it is a very small space, as I'm sure you guys can probably tell from the plans. So we will not have any tables or chairs in this particular shop. We will have a high kind of bar table for customers to grab a croissant and their cup of coffee. If they want to stand for a couple of minutes and eat it, they will have space to do so. But there is no actual seating inside the shop. They will primarily be grabbing their items and leaving with them. We do plan on having 3 full-time employees and 3 part-time employees to start. We will be hiring additional seasonal or part-time help during the busy holidays if needed. At any one time, there will be an estimated 3 to 4 employees working. Parking for the shop for customers is street parking only, primarily on Central Street and on Poplar Avenue. There is plenty of metered parking around the shop on Central and on Poplar by the train station. Being located right by the metro station, we do anticipate a large number of our customers to be commuters as well. For employee parking, there is one spot located in the back of the building for only 1 employee. And there will probably be about 2 early morning employees ranging on getting into the shop between 4 and 6 a.m. And they will be able to park in the front of the building on Central Street until 9 a.m. when the meters are then active at 9, and then they can move the car. But we are also willing to pay for those 2 employees to park over by the train on the meters that the shop would pay for. All of our deliveries coming and going will be made through the back door of the shop, which is located on Poplar. It is not an alleyway. There will be daily early morning deliveries of supplies and ingredients that should be early morning hours, no later than 9 a.m. As well as the deliveries leaving for wholesale orders and whatnot. Those will probably be made early morning as well, out of the same door. All garbage will be disposed of in the dumpsters behind the building. It is currently a twice-a-week pickup, unless there is a special pickup required. Pickup is on Mondays and Thursdays, excuse me. And we can certainly add a third pickup every week if needed. As far as litter is concerned, we are willing to follow the litter and collection plan that the city has provided us. We will also be using environmentally friendly disposable products. There will be little to no noise since this is an early morning bake shop, so that shouldn't be an issue. And this is also phase 1 of potentially 2 phases. Which phase 2, we would actually be getting the adjacent storefront and opening up the cafe side. And this will be a type 1 restaurant with a full coffee bar, sit-down service, serving breakfast and lunch, and we'll have an overall expanded menu. And that's it.
You came very prepared, and I don't have very many questions. The only question I have, and this is probably more so for you, Melissa, is the delivery trucks parking on Poplar I'm not real keen on, but I also understand that there is not a delivery bay for this. Do we anticipate any problems because of that?
It was discussed a little bit at Spark, and the Spark members did not note any particular concerns.
What time are the expected deliveries going to take place?
Usually between 6 a.m. and 8 a.m.
So, I mean, that's when people are trying to park right on Poplar by the train tracks, and when that Haven crowd is walking to school and all that good stuff.
It'd actually be better to get deliveries later.
I'm sure we could arrange
To get
that.
deliveries later, like between 10 and noon, because then you're not doing school traffic and
Right.
other traffic.
We could definitely arrange that if that was necessary.
Because that's going to be.
Yeah, I mean, that was my concern, is that having the train right there and
I didn't even
everything
think about
else.
kids. I didn't even think about kids trying to get to school.
I didn't either.
Plus all those pets crossing the street.
Yes, that's enough.
Yeah, that's it. I have one question. Did you say you had a shop in Lake Forest in Chicago?
No, I assisted opening 2 similar shops, one in Lake Forest, one in Chicago.
And you're the main chef here?
Yes.
Okay.
So in terms of litter, do we expect, given there's going to be a lot of commuter traffic, that the existing litter facilities in that area are sufficient? And if not, is there anything you plan to do to increase the receptacles for litter out front?
We will have a trash can right on the inside of the shop, so as people are leaving, they can very easily dispose. And there is currently, right on the corner of Central and Poplar, feet from our front door, is one of the city's garbage cans. And there are also 2 right by the train station as well. But we could certainly up that if needed as well.
I mean, I don't know that this one shop is going to push this area over the edge, and she is familiar with the litter collection plan, so obviously someone will be policing it within reason, and should hopefully have negligible impact on the area.
So I'm not sure the resolution, but I have a question about the plan for employee parking. It doesn't seem like a good idea to have employees utilizing the train parking, which is already over congested. But I also know in that area, it's permit parking, and I think there's some parking on Poplar after 9 a.m., but usually at 9 a.m. there's a mad rush to claim those spots, so I'm not sure what the right solution is, or have you looked into other solutions other than using the train parking?
Not at this moment, no. But you are right, the surrounding area is permitted until 9 a.m. all around the shop.
I mean, I would say that we would put our usual conditions on it, and kind of up to the employees to fight for what parking they are able to get. As long as we don't have them, parking in a space on Central and basically keeping that for the day, which is usually our major concern. Are there other questions? Was there anybody else who wished to speak to us on the matter? Seeing no one, is there anything you'd like to say in summation before we close the record and begin deliberation?
I don't think so.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Like I said, the issue that I primarily had was kind of in the terms of delivery trucks coming at rush hour. It sounds like the applicant is willing to work to time deliveries to have the least amount of impact on the rush hour traffic and the school traffic that will be generated along there. The employee parking situation we've sort of addressed in saying that we would put our usual conditions on it, but not necessarily dictate where they have to park, but dictate where they are not allowed to park. Anything else before I run through standards?
Are we gonna do standard hours of 6 a.m. to midnight?
No, we don't do those on Central Street. We don't usually go that late, I don't think, do we?
Didn't you guys do that for that subway down at the other end? Wasn't it like 6 a.m. to 10 p.m.?
Let me also add that there's I don't remember if we've heard the case yet, but there's a restaurant going in right on that block that will be like a bar restaurant. I don't know if we've covered their hours, but I assume they're gonna have later hours as well.
What I would say is at this time, we look at the hours that are being proposed and sort of extend those to what would be considered a typical non-downtown business area. So probably going to like 9 weekdays, 10 weekends.
Is that what Bluestone is, like on the other side of Green Bay there?
I don't know.
I'm sure they're open later than that.
Any of those over there?
Not that she's requesting that, but
No.
for consistency, it strikes me maybe we
I
should
think what's the
just do
Starbucks
the
over
usual.
there?
Well, Starbucks usually closes early.
I'm not a coffee drinker.
I'm not either, but I just know that lots of times they're closed early. So it looks like Bluestone has hours until 1 a.m. Yes, or midnight. Their hours are weird. They're open today 12 to 1 a.m. and also 11:30 a.m. to 12:59 p.m. So I don't know exactly what that means. But I would say if we were to extend hours to midnight, just every day, that gives her plenty of leeway if she decided to have an evening, going a little later in the evening to try to catch some of the coming home traffic. So I'm fine with that.
So we're gonna go 6 a.m. to midnight?
Yeah. Every day. So with that, we will once again go through the standards. I'm going to be hard pressed to come up with 3 different statements for these. Number 1, it is one of the special uses specifically listed in the zoning ordinance. And looking at the fact that we are in a B1A business district and taking into consideration also the Central Street Overlay District, We do find that a type 2 restaurant is one of those operations that is permitted by special use, so that standard has been met. Number 2, it is in keeping with purposes and policies of the adopted comprehensive general plan and zoning ordinance as amended from time to time. The zoning ordinance and the comprehensive plan do strive to keep our businesses on corners of our major areas or in the downtown area, keeping them out of truly residential areas. And so I believe that putting a type 2 restaurant on this corner of what is basically a commercial street, and also then what abuts with something that is, I mean, Poplar is somewhat commercialized by the Metro being there, but in reality it kind of heads into a residential area. But I believe that this standard has been met. Number 3, it will not cause a negative cumulative effect when its effect is considered in conjunction with the cumulative effect of various special uses of all types on the immediate neighborhood. Actually, I was noticing that the previous space was an art gallery before it became vacant, and it seems to me that actually putting this type of an establishment in makes more sense to improve the neighborhood as opposed to something that would have very limited hours and a very limited clientele. So I believe that it will not have a negative impact and actually will probably have a positive impact on this neighborhood. So standard number 3 is also met. Number 4, it does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. As I mentioned, the Central Street is one of our commercial districts, and this particular location does abut some residential to the south side, but I believe that because of the fact that it has a very low impact in terms of noise or any sort of pollution into the neighborhood, that property value should not be impacted by the placement of this restaurant, so I believe that standard is met. Number 5, that can be adequately served by public facilities and services. Again, Central Street being one of our major areas, the Metro track being there. Obviously, the infrastructure has been placed to create some foot traffic, which this type of a business would be the type that would be looking for that. So I believe that this standard has been met. Number 6, it does not cause undue traffic congestion. I think that our major issue and pertaining to this particular standard is the timing of deliveries on Poplar. So I would recommend that we condition that the deliveries be timed to avoid impacting what traffic is coming through on Central and Poplar during the rush hours due to the proximity of the Metro station, but I do not believe that we're looking for anything that's going to create additional traffic congestion, so that standard has been met. Number 7, it preserves significant historical and architectural resources. Again, the building not being anything of historical or architectural significance that I am aware of, I believe that this standard is met. Number 8, they preserve significant natural and environmental features. Again, we're not planning to change the footprint of the building or create anything that would be creating additional paved surfaces or impacting any of the environmental features that exist already, limited as they are. So I believe that the standard number 8 has been met. And number 9, it complies with all other applicable regulations of the district in which it is located and other applicable ordinances. Again, operating a type 2 restaurant requires certain types of licensing from other bodies than this board, but I have no reason to believe that the applicant would not go through whatever needs to be done to obtain those licenses. So I believe that that standard has been met. With that, we sort of talked about hours, we've talked about delivery, and the parking, which we always do. So I would ask if there is a motion for approval to City Council.
I move in the matter ZBA 14-ZMJV-0115 regarding the property at 1814 Central Street, that we recommend to City Council that the special use requested be granted with the following conditions: that the hours of operation be limited from 6 a.m. till midnight daily, that employees be required to utilize the non-metered parking in the area to the extent allowed, that deliveries be made outside of congestion hours to the extent practicable to avoid creating traffic congestion that coincides with the metro station there. That the applicant be required to comply with the city's garbage and litter collection plans, and that the property otherwise be developed and run in compliance with the testimony given and documents and evidence submitted.
I'm sorry, I was doing something else. Did you mention hours?
Yeah.
Okay. With that, is there a second?
I second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of a recommendation of approval for 1814 Central Street, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? With 4 votes and no one against, it will go to City Council with a recommendation for approval. And again, Melissa will work with you to let you know when you'll be appearing on Council's docket. Thank you. With that, we will move into the third matter on our agenda this evening, which is 600 Davis Street. If that could please be read into the record.
Pascal Bartholomew, lessee, applies for a special use permit for a Type 2 restaurant, Patisserie Coraline, at 600 Davis Street. 600 Davis Street is located in the D2 Downtown Retail Core District, which requires a special use permit for a Type 2 restaurant to operate. Zoning Code Section 61134. The Zoning Board of Appeals makes a recommendation to City Council, the determining body for this case. Documents included as part of the record include special use application submitted September 3rd, 2014, standards form, zoning analysis, plat of survey dated January 19th, 1947, site plan, description of business, image of property, aerial view of property, zoning map of property, and Spark meeting minutes of September 24th, 2014.
Thank you. At this point, if I could have anyone who may be speaking to us in the matter of 600 Davis Street be sworn. Do you swear or affirm to tell the truth throughout the course of these proceedings?
Yes, I do.
Thank you. And if you could please state your name for the record?
Yes, my name is Pascal Bartholomew, and I'm the owner of the pastry shop and the coffee shop.
Thank you. If you would please tell us about your proposed project.
I'm planning on opening a very traditional and higher-end French boutique pastry shop. And obviously we'll be selling coffee as well. So I've partnered with Julius Meinhold to handle the coffee part, but this is not a franchise. We're only selling their coffee. And I'm not sure if you know, but there was the city of Evanston had created a Facebook page actually to get Julius Meinhold to come to Evanston. So I was aware of that, and it was part of my decision also to fulfill that request.
And a lot of the typical questions that we ask are proposed hours of operation.
Yes, we will be open 7 days a week. Monday through Friday we will be open from 6 a.m. until 7 p.m. And on weekends we will be open from 7 a.m. until 7 p.m. So I would like to inform you, if you don't know already about it. My situation is maybe a little different than others, and in respect of the previous business that was a Type 2 restaurant, and I'm basically correcting the administrative error that was made on filing the previous business. So it's very much the same as what was there prior to myself. It is a coffee shop, just like the previous owner. It is a Type 2 restaurant, just like the previous one. It is, we're selling pastries, which the previous business was also selling pastries. So in that respect, there is no changes on anything as far as.
In terms of your business, can you tell us when you expect to take deliveries? That's right on the corner of Chicago and Davis, right?
Correct, yes.
And so when and how do you plan to take deliveries?
Deliveries will be in the morning, and just like any other business, that is getting deliveries.
Where vis-a-vis the property, where do you expect to take deliveries? Where will trucks deliver?
I've seen a lot of trucks, and I'm not sure if this is a good thing or bad thing, but from like a traffic perspective, it's actually working great. It's right in front of the store. There is a fire hydrant, and logically a lot of the trucks are just pulling up in that spot, which is just like a spot except that there is a fire hydrant. So I know it might not be the best solution, but as far as congestion, it makes everything very fluid on that point.
What size of trucks are you anticipating your deliveries to come in?
The exact same trucks as any other food establishment. There's no difference.
Well, it varies a little bit in size, so it can be anything from a van to a semi.
Okay, so I'll exclude the semi, and I'm not sure what word I should use for the size of the truck. I apologize. But
Is it more like the size of a UPS or a FedEx truck?
absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
And if you look at all the restaurant in the area, which I have 2 other restaurants in the downtown area, I will be working with most of the same companies. So those trucks are already serving the Evanston area, and they'll be putting up at that location as well.
Doesn't this location have a rear dock?
No, it does not, and that was one of the, I guess, the weakness of that space. It doesn't have a back entrance, so the previous business had to deal with the same reality. If anything, it will be a nuisance to the patrons because they'll have to see the delivery coming inside. But to me, the location itself had a lot more to offer, and I was willing to just pass that issue.
Can you talk a little bit about how many employees you'll have on site at a time and where you expect them to park?
So if I guess I should tell you that because I've been in business for 5 years in Evanston, I'm very much invested in this community. It's my first restaurant that I opened 5 years ago that allowed me to open a second one 2 years later, and allowing me now to open another one this year. And I like to think of it as like I'm a small independent owner, and I really firmly believe small independent owners are really making what our community, the diversity of the community and the energy of the community comes a lot from us. I was able to create more jobs that way. And for this project, we kept in mind that philosophy, and we were able to actually hire most of the baristas from the local area. It meant a lot to us that the people were going to be local. I can tell you that out of the 8 baristas, 6 of them live in Evanston. They will be either taking public transportation or their bicycle, which I believe most of them will be taking bicycles. They don't have any public, cars or anything. The 2 other persons that will not be taking the public transportation are managerial positions, which I will provide a pass on the parking structure located down the street. So I don't think you'll be disappointed with that.
And just kind of for the record, I will let you tell us what are the other 2 businesses that you own in Evanston?
Yes, the first one is Bistro Bordeaux. It's a very traditional fine dining bistro located at 618 Church Street. And the other one is a more casual concept. It's called Crêperie Saint Germain, and it's a French crêperie located at 1512 Sherman Avenue.
All right, thank you.
And this is kind of like the third that complements all other. I believe Evanston should have a little bit of everything as opposed to the same concept. So that's that area. The pastry shop was always a project that I had in the back of my mind because I thought, we had, Benison that has been around for a long time, and we love Benison, but this will bring also something different. We are working on getting our executive pastry chef nominated for James Beard Award as a best new pastry chef. So we're working on that, and so we're very excited.
The last question I think I have for you is, are you familiar with the city's litter collection plan? Which basically says that you're responsible for patrolling around your business 250 feet, picking up any litter that is generated or existing in that area, and you're fine with that?
Yes, I'm actually enforcing that requirement already, since we already have dumpster, and we're working with Kurt, which I enforce also with the other two restaurants.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Are there additional questions?
You may have already mentioned this, but I may have not heard it. Are there, what kind of dining on site will there be, if any? Are there tables inside for patrons, or is it just take it to go business?
It's a good question. The real answer is I don't know. And when I say this, I mean it because I feel like it is going to be like the best of both worlds, where you're going to have a coffee shop, which will be something that you don't really have right now in Evanston. When I say a higher-end pastry shop, it will really have that luxury and very Parisian feel to it, with leather tufted, lounge ceilings mixed with marble bistro table and bistro chair, candy cane, vented wood chairs. So there is a good balance of lounge seating and bistro seating, but the whole cachet of the establishment will definitely have that higher end feel. So we'll have the people that come for just getting a coffee and sitting down, people that will come the coffee to go, and people that will come also to experience the best part, the pastries, either to go or on site. It will be I think a mix of both, and depending on the hour of the day, we might have more of an afternoon tea type of crowd in the afternoon, and more of the traditional coffee shop setting in the morning during before people start to work. There is a lot of foot traffic in that area. That's also another reason why I really wanted that location. There is a hotel getting built across the street. You're gonna need coffee.
Are there any additional questions? If not, was there anybody else who wished to speak to us on this matter? Seeing no one, I will ask you if you'd like to please say anything to sum up before we begin deliberation.
No, just as I said earlier, I'm very excited by this project, and I really think, when I look at all the things that are happening in the food industry or the food world in Evanston, I've seen Evanston within the past 5 years really transforming, and I say this as honest as I can. I do feel sometimes some openings don't make sense to me. I feel like this is already something that is already existing. There's so many great ideas out there, and as far as the pastry shop goes, there's not going to be anything that you've seen in Evanston before, and for that I can't wait to open the doors and show you the final product.
All right, thank you. With that, we will close the record and begin our deliberations. Again, kind of sensing from the line of questioning from the board, there doesn't seem to be any great objection, any issues that are seen. Again, the delivery question is one that's a little iffy. You can go ahead and sit down, you don't have to stand up there, thank you. But also looking at this particular location, there really is no other way to get things in. They're going to have to come through the front, which I know a restaurateur is as opposed to that as anything else, because that means everything is coming and going right past your customers, which you don't necessarily want. And again, because of the location here, we're dealing with two major streets. I don't know that delivery on one is any better than the other. And although I would never legally say a fire hydrant is a loading zone, I understand that sometimes people use them that way. Although it's not one that we're creating or condoning as a loading zone. With that, we will once again go through the 9 standards that we have for our special use. And the first one is a special use specifically listed in the zoning ordinance. Again, we're back in the downtown retail core district in a D2, and we find that a type 2 restaurant is one of the permitted uses through a special use. And I also just note that it basically is replacing a type 1 restaurant that existed there previously. Number 2, it is in keeping with the purposes and policies of the adopted comprehensive general plan and the zoning ordinance is amended from time to time. This particular type of a type 2 restaurant is something, again, that we would anticipate finding on major walking corridors, major traffic areas, both of which Chicago and Davis Street are. There's a number of people who are coming from the residential area, heading towards the downtown area, specifically to catch trains and things like that. So I believe this is the right type of business to be in this area, so that standard is met. Number 3, it will not cause a negative cumulative effect when its effect is considered in conjunction with the cumulative effect of various special uses of all types on the immediate neighborhood. As I mentioned, we are going from a type 1 restaurant in this area to a type 2 restaurant. And whereas with a type 2 restaurant, we usually do see some additional litter created, which is the difference between the two. I believe that the owner is being very conscientious about keeping the area clean and having as little impact as possible on the neighborhood in that sense. So I believe that standard number 3 is met. Number 4, it does not interfere with or diminish the value of property in the neighborhood. This again being an area where we would expect to find a type 2 restaurant. I believe that this type of a type 2 restaurant probably has less impact than a number of fast food restaurants that would go into a space similar to this in terms of generating any impact on the surrounding neighborhood. So I do not believe that this particular project will interfere or have any negative impact on property values, so this standard is met. Number 5, it can be adequately served by public facilities and services. Again, the infrastructure is in place. This is the intersection of 2 major streets in town, and so we don't expect to see large trucks coming in, anything like that. It should probably have very little impact whatsoever on our facilities and services, so that standard is met. Number 6, it does not cause undue traffic congestion. Again, I would just note for the record that there is no loading dock, there is no rear entrance to this property, and so we understand that people will do what they can in order to make deliveries, but with the types of trucks that are coming and with the number of deliveries that we are anticipating, I do not believe that this will have a major impact on the area. So standard 6 is met. Number 7, it preserves significant historical and architectural resources. Again, we've not heard anything that would change the footprint of the building in order to change it. The building, I don't believe, is anything historic. But we do not see any proposed changes to the exterior that would drastically impact the look of the building or the neighborhood, so I believe that standard is met. Number 8, it preserves significant natural and environmental features. Going to what I just said, basically there's nothing that's being created on the outside to have any impact on the neighborhood or on the environmental features, so standard 8 is met. And number 9, it complies with all other applicable regulations of the district in which it is located and other applicable ordinances. Again, with any type of a restaurant, there is additional licensing and permitting that is done by both the state and the county and everybody else probably. That's outside the purview of this particular board, but with the operator already having 2 restaurants existing in the city of Evanston, I'm sure he is familiar with what is required and has no plans to not adhere to that. So I believe standard number 9 is also met. With that, the hours is something that, again, we're back down in the downtown core, so I would go to our regular hours of, I would just do a 6 to midnight across the board on this particular operation. We do know that there is no parking, but we do have a large parking garage that's probably about 4 blocks away at most. Again, the litter collection plan is something that the operator is familiar with and enforces already at other locations. So with that, is there a motion?
All right, I'll go for the hat trick. I move in the matter ZBA 14ZMJV-0123 that we recommend that City Council approve the special use requested with the following conditions. That the hours of operation be limited from 6 a.m. until midnight daily. That employees be required to utilize off-street parking. And that the applicant be required to comply with the city's garbage and litter collection plans, and that the property otherwise be run and developed in substantial compliance with the testimony and evidence presented.
The only thing that I would ask maybe we add in is like we did on the previous one, this particular operator had mentioned that deliveries would come around 10 a.m., but just to make sure that we are trying to push those into off hours from the rush hour traffic that would be generated along there.
To the extent practicable.
Yes.
Yeah.
With that motion, is there a second?
Second.
It has been moved and seconded that we recommend approval of 600 Davis Street for a type 2 restaurant. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? With 4 votes in favor, you will be recommended to City Council for approval. And again, like I said before, Melissa will let you know when you'll be on Council's docket. Good luck with your project. That concludes the business that we have in terms of new cases this evening. Is there any additional business to bring before the board?
Just to add a thank you to the zoning board members that attended the Illinois APA conference board and commissioner training. I don't know if you guys have anything that you want to share with anyone, or if you want to pass along an email to me with any pertinent information, but we do thank you for attending and broadening your horizons.
It was very interesting because I don't know if this is the politically correct thing to say, but we discovered how well run we are as a board in comparison to some of our neighbors.
Yes.
And that we are quite fortunate to have full-time staff that is available to answer questions for us, and that we do have, at most of our meetings, 3 people present, 2 from zoning and someone from the city attorney's office. It was kind of surprising to me how many people do not have attorneys present or access to attorneys, which makes it a little scary sometimes because I like to go rogue and make Mario have to figure out how to correct what I do. But at least he gets to see it and he can stop it before I get too out of hand. So I would like to take this opportunity to say thank you to the staff for making us well prepared so that we can do our job, because a lot of the stuff that was coming up in this meeting was stuff that we did not have to worry about because of the fact that we have access to people. So that's all I have.
Second.
And I thought it was comprehensive because we obviously had all our pieces put together and everybody else was asking questions that were not pertaining to us. I just wish it was a little bit, more our level. That's it.
All right. Anything else?
When the next ZBA packet comes out, I will also send out revised ZBA rules. Please take a look at them. They will incorporate all of the comments that I have received, and then we can have a discussion at our next meeting on making any of those changes or adding anything else.
Is the next meeting not full?
Actually, it is with 4 variance cases, so if you'd prefer, we can push it off.
Actually, what I would recommend we do is present them that night and just kind of say, here they are, and then give everyone an opportunity to look through them so that we can hopefully vote on them the following meeting, unless there's something that is glaringly needs to be addressed before we vote on them. With that, is there a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion to adjourn.
Is there a second? It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye. Aye. We stand adjourned until our next meeting, which will be October 21st here in council chambers.